liberals and progressive have historically been labeled as the unpatriotic group. They hate America. They don't care about this country. If you don't like this country, then you can just get out. Now, on this show, if you don't know, like, I'm a big proponent of, patriotic progressivism. If this is your first episode, that might be an introduction to, that concept. Maybe that should be my next, big project, is writing something on that. But for us today, I'll keep it at that. Because you can be a progressive, you can have critiques of American history, of American culture, of American society more broadly. You can have critiques of capitalism. You can still be a patriot. You can still love this country. And I think that actually most people do love the country. They just want to make it better. And that's what a patriot would do. With that being said, this idea that I'm about to show you is the most anti-American, and I am being sincere. I am not LARPing when I say this. I am not, trying to act indignant. I genuinely believe that this concept, this, however long we take discussing this, is the most un-American, unpatriotic thing that I have ever heard from a sitting Congresswoman. Congresswoman from Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene, says this, and I will zoom in so that you guys can read it. We need a national divorce. No, she's not talking about a divorce, interpersonally. She is quite literally talking about a divorce of the country. Now, she's not saying civil war. We'll talk about that in a second. But that is functionally what she is saying. She says, and I quote, "We need to separate by red states and blue states and shrink the federal government. Everyone I talk to says this. From the sick and disgusting woke culture issues shoved down our throats to the Democrats' traitorous America Last policies, we are done." Now, this is not even a thinly veiled call for basically what happened in Civil War, a secession of red states. Now, the Civil War was a secession of southern states to protect, let's go with they were seceding to protect states' rights. States' rights to do what? Oh, to own slaves. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene happens to come from one of the states that seceded and was part of the Confederacy. And I'm sure she's probably pretty proud, and I'm sure somewhere has a Confederate flag hanging around. This needs to be high. I am actually going to disagree with Jordan on your point in the chat. You, for those listening, the point in the chat is every person who quote tweeted her just boosted her Twitter account. Now I know what you're saying. Yes, it seems like a promotion. I'm gonna tell you this because I quote tweeted this. This should be plastered everywhere. This should be covered on all the news media, on every, this is literally calling for, as pointed out in the chat, treasonous. This is treasonous. This is disingenuous because she doesn't actually believe that this could happen. Because how would you split the United States, which has blue states sometimes, like Pennsylvania is half the time blue, half the time red? How do you split the middle of the country, which is majority Republican, and California and Oregon, and Arizona, which are blue? How do you split that, geographically? How do you break up, Okay, what if there's like a red state right here and all the surrounding states are blue or vice versa? Like, it's just so stupid. I can hear your point to say screenshot it, whatnot. I don't care. I want to put her on blast. I want everybody to see it. I don't care if people follow her. I don't care about any of that stuff. I don't believe in that fallacy anymore. I don't believe that people should be I don't care that Trump's back on Twitter. He doesn't use it, but in fact, I would rather have it centralized, point to it, and say, look at that. That is insane. That is nuts. That is not on Truth Social or whatever it is. That's on Twitter. Everyone's going to see it rather than just his sycophants. I do go back and forth. Some people probably should be platformed. Some people shouldn't. But this is something that I think should be amplified every single place possible to say, this is insane. I hear your argument. I don't agree with it, but we can agree to disagree. We have comment, there are still black strips of cloth that have been hanging in front of same house written in white paint stating America died January 20, 2021. I have pictures to prove it. Yeah, I don't understand the black strips. But yeah, I mean, I assume that's just saying that Biden got sworn in. Let's see. Where do we go from here? So this is her response to it. So she says, thread, I'm only going to read like the first part here, but why the left and the right should consider a national divorce, not a civil war, but a legal agreement to separate our ideological and political disagreements by states while maintaining our legal union. Definition of irreconcilable differences. Inability to agree on most things or on important things. Tragically, I think we and the left and the right, have reached irreconcilable differences. I'll speak for the right and say we are absolutely disgusted and fed up with the left cramming and forcing their ways on us and our children with no respect for our religion or faith. Not true. Traditional values. Also not true. And economic and government policy beliefs. There's probably some legitimacy there. But that is not... None of that is a actual argument for having a divorce. I know I'm a millennial. I hear you. I disagree with you. That's all. So this argument then brings us to what happens if you want to leave a red state? What happens if you want to leave a blue state? This is large forehead man, Charlie Kirk, which, I have a big freaking head, so me saying this is interesting, but he has a very small face, with Marjorie Taylor Greene to discuss what happens when somebody wants to move, from one state to another. What happens when people are leaving blue states for some reason to go to a to a red state? What happens?
I don't think they'll ever stop trying to invade our states or our counties. So how do we stop them?
Well, I think that, red states could choose and how they allow people to vote in their states. For example, over the past couple of years, we've seen a mass exodus from California and New York, where we've seen people fleeing those leftist policies and moving to states like Florida, Georgia, Texas, states where they like the tax policies, they like the schools, they like the consequences of Republican and red policies. What I think would be something that some red states could propose is, if Democrat voters choose to flee these blue states where they cannot tolerate the living conditions, they don't want their children taught these horrible things, and they really change their mind
Democrats are not leaving places because of what horrible stuff is being taught to our children. Well, I don't have children, but you know what I'm saying. Democrats, when they leave blue areas, typically are leaving for jobs. They're leaving for more space. They are leaving because they just want to move towards their family, like someone moving to Florida. They're retiring. There's a number of different reasons why people leave blue states, go to red states. Or, like in COVID, they leave blue areas because they're the most densely populated areas to avoid getting sick. There's a large variety of reasons why people leave where they live. And there's plenty of people that move from the red areas into the blue areas because guess where most of the jobs are? In the blue areas. Wonder why that is.
On the types of policies that they support, well, once they move to a red state, guess what? Maybe you don't get to vote for 5 years. You can live there, you can work there, but you don't get to bring your values that you basically created in the blue states you came from by voting for Democrat leaders and Democrat policies.
Democratic. Now, this is the main argument here. All of this is rolled into the broader agenda of the right. They don't want you to vote. They don't want you to have your civil rights. They don't want you to have your individual liberties. They don't want you to have it because they're afraid of you changing the power dynamics and grabbing the reins of power for not just you, for the middle class, the working class people, the people impoverished, the homeless people, people that are starving, people that are looking for a job. The retired people, even though the retired people vote for Republicans overwhelmingly because of their age, in reality, someone like me is advocating and pushing for policy that will help a retired person significantly more than someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene. They do not give a damn about the working class of this country. They don't even think that you should be able to vote. She just said it. If I moved from Pennsylvania, which I don't know if she would consider Pennsylvania a blue state, she probably would just for the sake of argument. But if I moved from Pennsylvania into Ohio, one state over, she doesn't think I should vote. I'm arguably more educated, more highly educated than she is. I'm younger, but she doesn't think I should be able to vote. If you move from wherever you live to Florida, you think you shouldn't be able to vote. Now, that's the type of thing that this ideology is leaking and is saying the quiet part out loud. That is not what she is supposed to say. But she's not going to be punished for it. She's actually going to be elevated for it. Now here we have on furthering this point of the national divorce, we have Sean Hannity weighing in, arguing this stuff. What are some of the results? What are some of the benefits? This is him echoing Marjorie Taylor Greene. A quote, much smaller federal government. Remember, big government, small government, neither is necessarily better. Small government doesn't mean anything. Big government doesn't mean anything. You can have good big government, you can have good small government, and you can have everything in between. States fully control public education. The states largely do already control public education, although it's important to note there's a reason why they say states control public education and not local jurisdictions control public education, because they want to divert from cities. So let's just say the state of Pennsylvania is controlled by Republicans. It's not anymore. Half of the delegation is controlled by, half of the houses of government of Congress are controlled by the Democrats. The House of Representatives is controlled by Democrats. But let's just say we lost one seat. The state would be controlled by the Republicans. So that way that in Philadelphia and Allegheny County and Pittsburgh and even places like Bucks County, although I would argue that we're benefiting from some of that fact in Bucks County, we don't have local control of public education, and they want to just divert because they think that well, it's true. Republicans control more of the state houses than Democrats, just based on population of some of those states. In the chat, if we have a national divorce, does that mean we get 2 Christmases? No, you get nothing. You'll like it. Furthering on the national divorce talking points, states could continue using fossil fuels. That's a wonderful choice. That's exactly what we should be pushing for. That's a great reason to break up the country. It's a great reason to literally say, I don't give a shit about the Constitution. I don't care about interstate commerce, which is why Alexander Hamilton wrote the Federalist Papers, to bring together the Union of the United States. Now, again, she doesn't care about any of this stuff. Hanny doesn't care about any of this stuff. They don't care about the history of this country, the good or the bad. They just want to broadly paint with a brush. One-day elections with paper ballots. This is how stupid they are. They don't even understand, or they're either stupid or disingenuous. Because overwhelmingly, older voters vote, right? By definition, older voters vote, but older people vote. They have a higher propensity to vote. Now, why is that? Is because, one, polling places are where they live. A lot of times, like in Doylestown alone, 2 or 3 of the polling places, if I have to get them straight, but are in retirement communities. 3 of them are usually in there. 2 of them at minimum. 1 of them sometimes moves. So they can go and walk down the stairs, or they can have someone push them down the stairs. Not literally push them downstairs. Push them, down the stairs in their wheelchair, or go down the elevator. Not literally throw them down the stairs. Or what you see normally is that old voters use the mail-in ballot system. They use the system of absentees in different states. Now, I don't know about you, but if you really wanted to have a one-day vote, you wouldn't have people that work. They would have a harder time to vote. You would have people that can't drive have a problem. And you'd have old people having a problem. So all this is just to say, it's a stupid argument to say one-day elections with paper ballots. Here is the bottom one, is law enforcement supported and funded. Remember, there is little, I won't say no, but there is very little federal regulation and enforcement on law enforcement in this country. The overwhelming majority of law enforcement decisions are made by your local police department, somewhat regulated by your local government, and somewhat regulated by your state government. There is next to nothing in the federal government that supports or doesn't support or doesn't fund the police. So that is another BS argument. Jordan, you know what you should do? You should hop into the Discord. You should throw in the quote retweets and all that stuff, making something trend, which will lead to conversations. I think we should have this argument in the Discord server because I think it's worthwhile. And I think it's an interesting conversation. Again, I think these conversations of platforming people are on a per issue basis. I think that there are some people that shouldn't be platformed, but I think public figures, specifically ones in government, and I'd rather them say it on Twitter so that everyone sees it than nobody sees it and it just becomes the silo and the sycophants being, locked into it, on Truth Social or whatever, even Rumble. I mean, even like these platforms, if we ever saw one really take off, we would really start to see the silos of this country become further radicalized. And I don't mean the silos as in the left. I just mean like the right would just keep getting more right and right. So that's just my opinion. I mean, I think there's some evidence to back that up. You can look at, the QAnon documentary on HBO to see how 8chan, led to some of that stuff. But yeah, that's neither here nor there.